Loneliness had always followed Sam like a silent shadow, until one man decided to change that. Officer Lee, seeing how she had struggled through life without comfort or connection, made a quiet promise to himself to bring a little light into her world. When he discovered she didn't even own a phone, he planned a secret gift that would forever bridge the distance between them. A simple act that would touch her heart in the most unexpected way. Stay tuned, subscribe to our channel, and let this story of kindness, love, and quiet devotion warm your heart today. Officer Lee had always noticed that Sam was different, not in a way that drew attention, but in the quiet strength that lingered behind her gentle smile. She had grown up with little, both in possessions and affection, and though life had not been kind to her, she never once complained. There was a quiet dignity in the way she faced her hardships, a resilience that made Lee admire her more than he ever admitted. While others might take for granted the warmth of a family dinner or the comfort of a simple conversation, Sam often walked home alone, her footsteps echoing softly under the dim streetlights. Over time, Lee realized just how isolated her world was. She didn't own a phone, not because she didn't want one, but because she couldn't afford it. Every time he needed to reach her, whether to ask about a case she had helped with or to check if she was safe after a late night at the community shelter, it became a small challenge. He would have to rely on word of mouth, passing messages through mutual friends, hoping she would eventually get them. There were nights when Lee would stand by the precinct window, phone in hand, wishing he could just send her a simple text. "Are you okay?" But there was no number to send it to. That helplessness weighed on him more than he expected. Sam wasn't just another acquaintance to him anymore. She was someone who brought light into places where darkness often lingered. She had this rare ability to see goodness even in the broken, to smile even when her world felt empty. And somehow, that quiet courage made Lee feel responsible for her, protective in a way that came from both admiration and affection. He wanted to make her life a little easier, to show her that someone cared, even in the smallest way. Sometimes when Lee saw her sitting at the park bench after work, feeding stray cats with leftover bread, he would pause from afar, hands in his pockets, pretending to look at his phone. He didn't want to intrude on her peace, but he couldn't stop watching. There was something about her, the way she laughed softly when a kitten climbed onto her lap, or how she looked up at the evening sky as though searching for a dream she'd lost long ago, that made him feel a strange pull in his heart. He wanted to be the person she could reach out to when the world felt heavy. That night, as Lee walked home under the flickering glow of the street lamps, a thought settled deeply in his mind. Maybe it wasn't much, but he could at least give her something, a way for them to stay connected, for her not to feel so alone anymore. It wasn't about pity, it was about care, quiet and sincere. For the first time in a long while, Lee knew exactly what he wanted to do. The following evening, the decision that had quietly taken root in Lee's heart began to bloom into action. After finishing his shift, he didn't head straight home as usual. Instead, he walked through the soft drizzle of the city, his uniform jacket slightly damp, until the warm light of a small electronics shop caught his eye. Inside, rows of gleaming phones rested behind the glass, each one reflecting fragments of neon from the street outside. Lee stood there for a moment, hesitating, his reflection merging with the shimmering displays. He wasn't used to buying gifts, especially not ones that carried meaning, but tonight felt different. When he finally stepped inside, the clerk greeted him cheerfully, unaware of the nervous weight behind his quiet smile. Lee's gaze roamed over the shelves until it stopped at a modest phone, simple, elegant, and practical. It wasn't the newest model or the most expensive, but there was something about it that reminded him of Sam, unassuming yet full of quiet strength. He imagined her holding it in her hands, her eyes lighting up with surprise, maybe even disbelief. That image alone made his chest tighten in the most unexpected way. He bought it without another word. On his way out, he stopped by a small stationery stand nearby and chose a tiny white card. Under the dim light of a street lamp, he wrote carefully in his neat, slanted handwriting, "So we can talk whenever you need to. Don't refuse this, Sam." He paused after writing her name, his pen hovering as if afraid to break the spell. Then, with a quiet exhale, he slipped the card into the box beside the phone, closed it gently, and tied a simple blue ribbon around it, her favorite color, he remembered. The city was quiet that night. The rain had stopped, leaving behind the scent of wet earth and a silver sheen on the rooftops. Lee walked the familiar route towards Sam's small apartment, the wrapped box tucked securely under his arm. He passed the bakery she often visited, the park bench where she liked to sit, the stray cats now curled up and sleeping under the benches. Every step he took felt deliberate, almost sacred. By the time he reached her doorstep, his heart was beating faster than usual. He placed the gift down carefully in front of her door, the small box almost glowing under the porch light. For a moment, he hesitated. Should he ring the bell? Should he wait to see her reaction? But then he shook his head. No, this wasn't about being seen or thanked. It was enough to know she would smile. He took a last look at the box, a soft smile tugging at his lips, and turned to leave. As he walked away, the night seemed lighter somehow. The air felt easier to breathe. Behind him, the quiet street stood still, holding a secret between two hearts, one that neither of them had yet dared to name, but both already felt. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight crept through the narrow curtains of Sam's small apartment, painting soft, golden lines across the wooden floor. She stirred awake to the familiar stillness of her tiny home, the quiet hum of the street outside, the faint chirping of birds on the rooftop. As she reached for the door to fetch a bucket of water for her plants, her eyes caught sight of something unusual resting on the doorstep. A small, neatly wrapped box, tied with a delicate blue ribbon that fluttered lightly in the morning breeze. Her heartbeat quickened. Sam glanced around, half expecting someone to step forward and claim it, but the street was empty. Kneeling down, she picked up the box, her fingers trembling slightly at the unexpected weight of it. There was a faint scent of rain and something else, familiar, comforting, that made her chest tighten. She carried it inside, set it gently on her small wooden table, and hesitated before untying the ribbon. Inside, nestled carefully in tissue paper, was a phone. Brand new, sleek, gleaming softly under the morning light. And beside it, a small handwritten note. Her breath caught as she unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakable, neat, precise, and deeply familiar. So we can talk whenever you need to. Don't refuse this, Sam. For a long moment, she just sat there, staring at the note, her vision blurring slightly. Lee. It could only be him. A warmth spread through her chest. A feeling she couldn't quite name. Something between gratitude, surprise, and the quiet ache of being seen for the first time. He had noticed. He had cared, and he had done it silently, without seeking thanks or attention. That realization made tears gather at the corners of her eyes, though she quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand, smiling through them. With trembling fingers, Sam turned on the phone. The screen lit up with a soft glow, and for the first time, she felt an unfamiliar sense of connection, a bridge built between two hearts that had always spoken through gestures more than words. She opened the messaging app and hesitated, unsure what to say. Finally, she typed slowly, "Thank you, Officer Lee. This means more than you know." She pressed send, and for a brief second, she stared at the screen, waiting, heart pounding. A few moments later, her phone buzzed, one short vibration that made her smile widen. "I'm glad you like it," came the reply. Simple, yet it carried a warmth that wrapped around her like sunlight after rain. That morning, as Sam stepped outside with the new phone in her pocket, everything seemed different. The air fresher, the sky bluer, the world somehow closer. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel invisible. Somewhere across the city, Lee was smiling too, knowing that his small gesture had reached her heart and perhaps, unknowingly, started something neither of them could quite put into
Hello,
words.
xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Sam Review. Vậy là trong tập phim hôm nay của chúng ta thì cảnh sát Đi đã tặng Lý Tử Sam một món quà rất là bất ngờ. Chắc hẳn các bạn cũng đã đoán được rằng món quà bất ngờ đó là gì? Đó chính là một chiếc điện thoại di động để Lý Tử Sam và cảnh sát Đi có thể liên hệ với nhau, trò chuyện với nhau hàng ngày một cách thuận tiện nhất. Món quà đó chắc là sẽ khiến cho Lý Tử Sam rất là bất ngờ và hạnh phúc. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn sẽ còn được kể ở câu chuyện tiếp theo. Mọi người hãy ấn vào nút đăng ký subscribe ở dưới video để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tử Sam Review nha. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại vào tập sau. Bye bye.